Well, welcome to Open Mic on this Friday morning. Friday. It's a great thing. And it comes for all of us, as does age. Funny how that happens. Joining us here today in studio, Executive Director of the Peabody Home in Franklin, Meg Miller, along with Ed Darling. Good morning, Meg.
Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good.
So this is, aren't there, for New Year's Eve, isn't there like an older guy that represents the last year and then a baby that represents the new year? Time does go on for us, and really the key is to plan ahead for your time.
Absolutely. I think that every day we age, some of us think about it more than others. The closer you get to, the more years you have on you, the more you think about it. And I've worked in elder care for 30 years, and Peabody Home houses people that never expected to live there, but they aged and needed some help, and there they live. But I think the key is just to plan ahead, to look at it, to talk to your folks about what are their plans, because they definitely are thinking about their aging.
Right. Even if they don't talk about it, they're making plans in their head.
Exactly.
They're starting to think things.
Exactly. And they think things of worry. Are they going to be dependent on people? They worry about finance. What's the cost? They worry about loss of their home, of their traditions.
Sure.
Christmas decorations. We just talked about
this
that.
This time of year, I know. It's a very, and when you've been in your home for years and you've raised a family in your home for years, you don't really want to leave your home in an ideal situation. However, the aging process does come, and it comes with stuff you've got to take care of that you might not be able to take care of at home.
Right, and we're living a lot longer. There's been medical improvements that replace hips and knees and anything that you'd like. Shoulders, an 88-year-old friend of mine just went in for a shoulder replacement.
Wow.
And she's a busy, active, engaged lady.
Right. Needs her shoulders. We had to get this done.
Exactly, exactly. So there's the living longer. There's the issue of cost. Who is going to pay for the care and whether you have enough to last. Usually when you're 80, you're not thinking of a part-time job. You're depending on the savings that you have or Social Security. There are trends for more home care. New Hampshire is not funding it totally.
Right.
The visiting nurse is trying to keep up with the demand. But a great avenue to explore is ServiceLink. The state of New Hampshire does a wonderful job. You have a ServiceLink office right here in Laconia on Water Street.
Sure we do, yeah.
And if you have elder questions, they are not selling anything, marketing anything. They're not documenting, tracking you. They just want to help you out with what questions you have.
So they're a real resource.
Absolutely, absolutely, which a lot of people worry about going into the Medicare office and having to share how much they have in savings and what are they going to get signed up for.
But, it's we can't know everything, and you got to reach out for help to kind of help guide you through, especially as you're heading into it. Because I don't know anything about Medicare and I know what my savings are so far, but you really, if you need help, you got to just throw yourself out there.
Right, and I think that retirement savings is different than when you're working. When you're working, you're generating more, you're investing it. A lot of people are seeking a financial advisor. That you may work with your lawyer, you may work with your accountant, but they're looking at it from a perspective of taxes or the legalities of your estate. And I think a financial planner can show you tax ramifications, what you might need. I know that you see on commercials now, Fidelity saying, are you close to that retirement number? So I think there's more awareness at a younger age, but that younger age is usually about 50. I will talk to 30 and 40-year-old friends, and they aren't real interested in planning or thinking about it.
And yet, And yet, it's really in your 30s and 40s that you need to start planning.
Exactly.
You know, if you want to get it the way you want it to go.
Exactly. And I think why people don't look at it is, one, it's aging.
What, we're denying again? I am not going to get older.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to live forever.
And every day goes by, and I have yet to meet someone who's made it alive through this life. I mean, I think we all end up dying at one point.
Right.
And I think the challenge is, how is that going to present itself? The good news is we don't know how it's going to present itself. The bad news is we don't know how it's going to present.
Right.
So,
I got some good news and some bad news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have either we are much more aware of our eating habits. As I mentioned, medical treatment has improved. We live longer.
Yeah.
But you still don't know really what is going to befall you.
How it's gonna come down.
There's Alzheimer's disease that people are fearful. There's Parkinson's disease. There's strokes. It's not like you're on your tractor and you suddenly have a heart attack and die.
Right.
That's how most would like it.
Right.
I also have worked with.
Or let me throw in sleep. In my sleep. Thanks.
Absolutely. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That'd be just great. I don't wake up. I don't freak anybody out. It's just my time.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, that would be perfect. And that happens sometimes.
Yeah, but sometimes.
And the statistics are, by 2030, there'll be 20% of our population in the U.S. will be over 65. So there's truly, they call it the gray tsunami, but there's truly a wave of aging that we're going to have to be creative of how everyone can either care for each other. Right now, there isn't a lot of funding. In New Hampshire, well, let me back up a little bit. The nursing home came about because elders were being cared for in hospitals.
Right. And it didn't seem right.
And it didn't seem right. So the nursing home was developed for the more chronic care. And since 1984, New Hampshire has had a cap on the nursing home beds. So you cannot build any more nursing home beds.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is saying, oh, are people not going to get older? The good news is, a nursing home may not be the place that you should live, that we should think creatively about other alternatives. Why they put the moratorium on nursing home beds was to control the Medicaid budget. And we'll talk in more detail about that at another time. It's very complicated, but it's so that New Hampshire could control that Medicaid budget.
Sure.
Every nursing home has the ability, a licensed ICF or nursing bed has the ability to ask the state to pay for that person living in that bed.
Okay.
And the state pays for half of it and the feds pay for half of it.
All right. So it was a financial decision, if you will.
Decision.
Yeah.
Right. And so since 1984, the state has worked on creating alternatives to a traditional nursing home, such as Belknap County, Merrimack County. And what they're trying to do is expand people living in an assisted living or living at home.
Right.
And so with the average cost, Peabody Home is the least expensive nursing facility in the state.
Yeah, I was going to say,
really
let's
are.
talk a little bit more about the Peabody Home itself and how you guys fit into this whole picture.
Well, what we've tried to do is follow the lead with the state, follow the lead with elders, and provide anything that they might need. So at Peabody Home, there's independent living. There is adult daycare program.
Nice.
So if the family can take care of their loved one at home, but they work or they need a little time off.
Sure, a little respite. Yeah.
Right. They can bring them to Peabody Home, have them stay from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We can take care of their medical needs. We serve them their meals, and then they're picked up and they spend the night at home. And that's a savings. That would be about $70 a day versus about $200 a day to live there. So
Wow.
that's an alternative.
Yeah. And again, there's socialization too. I mean, there's being social.
Yeah, instead of just sitting and watching the TV.
Right, getting out of the house. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And then there's respite, which is a funny word. Some people don't understand, and it's where the family can take a break.
Yeah.
If they want to go to Disney World with the grandkids, then their parent or loved one that can't stay alone can come to Peabody Home and live for a week, 2 weeks, and then go back to their home.
Nice. See, and again, respite is when you're the caregiver, you don't think about taking care of yourself because you're giving care to someone else.
Right.
But it's so as the caregiver, you need to have your own time. You need to have a little bit of you time. So a respite is a wonderful thing.
Think about folks that have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You usually can't take your children to a long-term care facility and have them go live there.
Correct.
You have to take care of them.
It's your job, yes.
When they become school-aged, the school is like your respite.
Yeah.
You're able to have a break, and the respite can be thought of that way. Is you're taking care of your elder, but the respite is a little bit of a break for you.
Right, but they're in the right place.
Right.
It's not like, okay, you're out in the backyard for today because I'm just not going to deal for 8 hours. Yeah, it's not that way. Yeah. You're doing it the right way.
Right. And you're extending their quality of life. You're extending any finances that you have by doing these incremental, watching just how the aging process is progressing.
Mm-hmm.
So you may be able to be jogging until you're 90, or you may be so debilitated with arthritis or Parkinson's disease or dementia that you need a little care.
Mm-hmm.
But the family has the ability to care for you some of the time. So the day care program, there are other day care programs in the state, and it's a wonderful resource, and ServiceLink does usually steer you to those programs that are closest in your area.
And again, it depends on your situation, too. Go ahead.
If I'm going to make use of the respite care program, is my parent going to get that medical checkout and make sure that the meds are doing what they're supposed to be doing and that we're not missing something, and et cetera?
Absolutely. What Peabody Home and most long-term care providers need is that you see a physician within 30 days of living there, and that there's doctor's orders, a plan of care for you, what your diet is, what your activity level, and what your medications are. When we get that baseline, then the nurses, the 24-hour nurses at Peabody Home, can continue the care that's been given at home during that respite stay. So if they have diabetes and need insulin, if they have high blood pressure and need medications dispensed, that can all be done during the respite.
So if I were basically looking to get away, I want to take the grandchildren to Disney World, and I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Does my parent then have to go through all of that for the 2 weeks?
Yes, a nurse cannot. Even though in the home, all those treatments can be given without doctor's orders, in the healthcare system, you do need the doctor's orders. Chances are, if you're elder and you do need medicines, you've seen your doctor within, it's not like a 40, 50, 60-year-old that goes in for once a year physical. Usually you've seen some specialist, and you can work with the specialist and find out what the current treatment is. So
one of the offshoots of the respite care, I guess, then could be that if mom or dad aren't willingly taking their medications, it would be a chance for them to get balanced out on their medications and see what they really would feel like if they would just take them when they're supposed to.
Ed, that's a great question, because what happens is people end up in the emergency room, and that is the absolute worst place usually for an elder to go, because they have what's called comorbidity, which means multiple issues because they've aged.
Yeah.
So maybe their arthritis is bothering them, or their blood sugar's high, But going into the emergency room, the caregivers in the emergency room are looking at that one problem
Right.
versus the whole picture of that person. So it can, as opposed to helping, it can set things off. The respite, that is a very good, they're under 24-hour observation. And the nurses are charting, they're getting their pills properly. And so some behaviors or some illnesses that you might be seeing at home and you're not quite sure what they are, if you have a respite, you've got documentation, you've got nurses that are observing the behavior.
And they're also probably all up to date on all the different things that are going on based on that one particular person.
Yeah, and their age. There's some very specific things that elders usually experience. An example would be someone that is absolutely functionable. When I say that, she can dress herself, she can come to meals, she can join in activities, but she'd come to meals. She lived independently at Peabody Home. She'd come to meals and complain of her stomach hurting. So because she lived independently, the family took her to the physician. And when they got to the physician, she would say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember my stomach hurting. And every meal, she'd say to the staff, I really have these pains in my stomach. So she came into the assisted living. She was monitored for 1 or 2 weeks.
All right, so we moved from independent to assisted.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. And we were able to give the doctor and the family some specifics of what was happening for that person. So rather than waiting until it became a full-blown issue that she ended up in the emergency room, hospitalized for a little bit, which is truly very expensive, she was observed on more of a subtle level. So I do want to express that aging doesn't mean you're sick.
Right.
Aging doesn't mean you need a nurse. You try and get the best quality of care with what you have to work with.
Right.
So the nurse is in the background observing, and you just see what balances, what tweaking needs to be done for that elder to build on their strengths and minimize the weaknesses.
So do we have a final to this story? What her stomach problem was?
Yeah, and she was able to be medicated for it. She ended up living in the assisted living. So she stopped, because Peabody Home has a small cottage where people live independently. They have housekeeping services once a week. They can have their dog. They could have a mini horse. They could have a goat. They can have housekeeping once a week. They have 3 meals a day. They come and go as they want.
Nice. That truly independent living.
It's truly independent. We ask that they come over for meals at least once a day so that we can check in with them and make sure they're okay. But they have a call light in case they have an emergency. But if they have somewhat of a more subtle medical issue, an ingrown toenail, or they just aren't feeling well, the staff will call the family. So the family needs to be involved in the independent care.
Living, sure.
Yep.
But, I mean, just as if you had a cottage in your backyard that your parents are living in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And then the progression is that they come into the assisted living, which not only helps their dignity, and the process is slowed down a little bit. It's not just going from home to the hospital to a nursing home,
right? Which
is really very difficult on many people.
I bet it happens like that a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does, because we all don't want to get older.
Now, I know we don't want to get older, but then you're in a situation where, okay, we're at the hospital. Now we got to make a decision.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to necessarily go down that way.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It's having the conversation. It's not pushing the elder. If the elder feels like the kids are really pushing them into a living situation, please look. Is it for the elder that you're doing that, or is it for your worry or your convenience? You know, you might have been called by your mom at 3 a.m. 3 times in a row, and you're working. So you say, this cannot continue.
This has got to stop.
Yeah. But yet they can manage at home pretty well. There are caregivers that can come in. There's technology that can, we all know the cameras. There's a lot of things that can be done, and more things are coming onto the market to keep them home if that's the only issue.
Right.
It really is a slow progression, and I would encourage families at holiday times to talk to your parent and say, what are you thinking?
Right.
What do you want to do?
Right.
There's a couple of communities right here in Laconia that actually are fun to live at. And I think that we forget that. The elder says, oh, I have to move because I'm debilitated, which isn't the case at all.
Right.
They move and they have more fun finding people that play cards, that the hairdresser's built in. They can walk to meals and not get in the car and go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's really an exciting time for...
That's great for the elder.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And not like, okay, we almost feeling like a punishment, even though it's not really a punishment.
A punishment, or that the kids feel they failed, or the elder feels that they didn't eat right all their life. It's not that. It's just take it a day at a time and, depend on, really start with the loved one that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Something has to change.
And
Start there.
and do it not in a crisis time.
Right.
Try to have that conversation when nothing's going on, when everything's fine, and you're just two people sitting talking.
Pat, there's a book called Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. He's a physician at Brigham and Women's Hospital. It's a book that opens up this discussion without being totally depressing.
Right.
It talks about health changes in younger people and in older people, and how difficult it is for physicians to talk to families about debilitation and something that they can't fix. So it opens up the conversation. It's a good read. I want to underscore that the elder is probably thinking about this a lot
Already.
Exactly.
Already.
So
it's a natural. You're just taking what they're thinking and bringing it out in a conversation.
Exactly.
And it's great, and you just got to go into it. You're right, talking to the elder and getting the elder to talk about what do you want?
What are you thinking?
What are you thinking?
And they have friends. They have usually church friends, or they might go to a senior center. I would caution, so-and-so did this, and so had this paid for, and so had a bad experience here. They'll collect a lot of information, as we all do.
Yes, we do.
Depending upon what we're going through. And you want to try and access places that have experience, such as ServiceLink, because each individual family and elder have different fact patterns. Some elders have resources of lots of kids that can help, or they live in an urban area where there's transportation.
Right.
So everybody's different, and you want to just find out what the needs are and try and match up the services for those needs.
And you want them to feel good about what's next.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the best way to feel good about what's next is to already have thought it or bought into it as the elder.
Right. And I think what happens, go ahead, Ed.
Well, I think you're on to something, Pat, there too, is that what can come out of these conversations sometimes is discovering fears or apprehensions that aren't necessarily real. That, we can improve your quality of life without putting you away.
Very good point. Very good point. Is that I think elders are coming to the table with these visions of what nursing homes used to be like.
Right.
And they're much more like hotels than these terrible, awful places that you don't want to go.
Well, and you're going to hear about that. Please, when years ago when my wife first got pregnant, people with horror stories would come up to her, complete strangers, and share the horror stories, all right? It's the same thing of, oh, my God, when I was pregnant, I was in labor for 72 hours, and had an awful experience. Your elder may hear nursing homes are horrible and don't even think about it, and that's the end of the story, instead of opening up your mind a little bit to what is really out there.
Exactly.
What is available out there.
Exactly. And I think one thing that helps the elder, sometimes what's thought of a nursing home is that there's loneliness and there's no purpose. That everything's taken away from them. They don't cook, they don't clean, they just sit in a chair. And I think that when an elder is at home and aging, the best thing is to go to a daycare, to go to a senior center, to go volunteer at a animal shelter, is get involved to the best of their ability.
Get a purpose.
Get a purpose. Exactly. And where the difficulty and the challenge is I had a resident once who said, "You need to weed whack around the Peabody home. Please, can I borrow the weed whacker?" Well, he couldn't see, and his back was very in a lot of problems.
So not a great weed whacker candidate.
Not a great weed whacker candidate. And but they want a purpose. They want to feel useful, and I think that if you can do it with their handicaps in mind, so you might take them to a daycare and the kids can come and just talk to them. It's not that they're caring for them. You have to be careful about putting too much responsibility because they won't do it again. But it really is that involvement. The holidays bring such joy. Kids and animals are two things that elders just respond really well to.
Sure.
The young 22-year-old who's just starting out, that brings a little sadness. So it's the youth and the animals that there's no judgment. There's no expectation. It's really fun to see.
That's awesome. It's Open Mic on 107.3 WEMJ. We're talking with Meg Miller, Executive Director of the Peabody Home in Franklin. We're talking today about aging. More coming up in just a moment. It's 107.3 WEMJ.
Would you like to leave your mark in history? Are you a proud supporter of the Colonial Theater Redevelopment Project? Get online today and make a tax-deductible donation at 609mainstreet.org and sign up for the Save Me a Seat program. You can now own a piece of colonial theater history by purchasing a theater seat. Now through the end of the year, donors can pick the location of their seat and your name will be displayed on the chair. Show your support or make a donation in memory of a loved one. Your donation can also make a perfect holiday gift. Support the Colonial Theater today, where history and memories will be made once again. Did you know that all gifts over $500 will be listed on a plaque in the main entrance of the theater? Want to make a donation larger than $1,000? Call Belknap EDC at 524-3057 to learn about additional opportunities. Make your tax-deductible donations before the end of the year. Donate at 609mainstreet.org. The Colonial Theater Redevelopment Project is presented by Belknap EDC.
Whether you have fallen, in need of joint replacement, sports medicine, or need surgery, you will need to find an orthopedic specialist that is convenient, caring, and personalized. Advanced Orthopedic Specialist at LRG Healthcare is located right in your backyard and has a long-standing tradition of providing quality, cutting-edge care. Each orthopedic specialist provides you with a personalized experience and a level of care that rivals the big centers. Advanced Orthopedic Specialists at LRG Healthcare offers specialties in joint replacement, sports medicine, spine care, arthritis, carpal tunnel, and more. You will be sure to find the right fit in a comfortable environment with exceptional doctors, superb nursing staff, and rehabilitation therapy. Now you will be able to focus on your recovery, knowing you're in great hands and close to home. Advanced Orthopedic Specialist at LRG Healthcare, located in Guilford, Franklin, Meredith, and Glen. Call 528-9100. That's 528-9100. Or visit advortho.org. Finding an orthopedic specialist is easy at Advanced Orthopedic Specialists at LRG Healthcare.
Thank you for making NH1 News your #1 news choice in New Hampshire and the fastest growing news company in the Granite State. The NH1 News team works around the clock to give the stories that affect you directly.
They are counting the votes.
So we have a first alert weather warning that is in progress.
We have every angle covered, and you've pushed us over the top with over 100,000 followers on Facebook and more joining every day. When it comes to following news in the Granite State, the choice is clear. Count on NH1 News.
Are you a caring, compassionate person dedicated to providing the highest quality of care while seeking a work environment that offers the same? LRG Healthcare will be hosting a job fair on Wednesday, January 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Franklin Regional Hospital. For a complete listing of open opportunities at LRG Healthcare, please visit lrgh.org/jobs. LRG Healthcare offers a competitive salary and benefits package, in-house training and education, and flexibility in scheduling. We are proud of our tradition of providing top quality care for patients and invite you to become a part of our team.
Now, back to the conversation. It's Open Mic with Pat Kelly, here on 107.3 WEMJ.
Hey, welcome back to Open Mic on 107.3 WEMJ. Today, we're talking about aging with Meg Miller. She's the executive director of the Peabody Home in Franklin. Meg, how can we get a hold of the Peabody Home? Do we have a website? Do we have a phone number?
We do. It's www.PeabodyHome.org.
Okay, nice.
We're not for profit. We're teeny tiny, offering multiple levels of care, different options, and please go on the website.
And the capability for somebody to kind of go right through, like starting with independent living and then going right through.
And there's no deposit to do that. It's a daily rate. I call it the Yankee plan.
Oh, that's...
You haven't done any
planning. You're talking to Yankees. Yep. We can make it work for you.
And speaking of no planning, sometimes that leaves us with lots of accumulated stuff.
It's called downsizing, I think.
Well, no. It's downsizing is after the accumulation of stuff that you don't realize how much stuff you have until you start downsizing.
It is oftentimes a very traumatic experience to come to grips with the fact that these prized possessions don't necessarily have any value to anybody else. So how do you work somebody through all of that?
I see it when they've made a decision to do something, either move to a 55 and over community or
right,
move
because that's
to
an option for
assisted
people.
living.
Yeah,
right. The 55 and over communities are becoming very popular because you still can maintain your household, but you don't have to pay for the roof and the furnace and the well and things that will outlive you, if you will. When you're 80, the 25-year roof doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So the with your things, what I find is I will take my parents, for example. They moved and they had boxes that they hadn't even opened for 20 years.
Wow.
So when they moved for the last time to a retirement community, I saw in their face every time they opened the box and looked at the fondue pot or looked at the pitcher or looked at the wine glasses, in their face was a reflection of all the parties that they had and all the fun that they had.
That we brought
and
the punch ball out for, the fondue parties. Sure.
Exactly. And it was very emotional. Yet, as Ed said, the fondue pot is a fondue pot.
Yeah.
Big deal. You can find them at yard sales, every one you go to. So it is an emotional connection with the with belongings.
Sure,
and usually you're moving to a smaller place. Usually you find that you don't need half of what you have, but you don't know that until you start to decide what to do. I often will tell elders that the best Christmas present they can give to their kids is to downsize, is to move to a smaller place.
Yeah.
Because if something should happen to you, your children are cleaning out the house, trying to decide what was important, what wasn't. It's very traumatic, and I see children that get actually very angry with their parents who have gone for leaving them with that duty.
Right. Well, it is, and you know what? Really, when you start going through boxes in your cellar or your attic, you're really just inflaming the memories. Right. Really, then you can throw it out.
Right.
I mean, that's why you saved it, really. I mean, you wanted to use the fondue pot again, but if I could see the fondue pot, think about all those great parties we had. Remember that one chocolate fondue you did, honey? I mean, if you can have those memories and know that they're all still there.
What a great point.
Without the fondue pot, the memories are still alive, then it's okay.
That's a great point.
Well, it's, I mean, that's, as I'm, because I'm like mid-50s, and we have saved stuff forever in case we need it, which we haven't in 20 years. So we have boxes of stuff downstairs that I'm starting to slowly go through. And really, it's just remember this. Okay, toss.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And it's so we're not saying that, don't have the memories or just throw the memories or throw the memories away. We're not. You got the memories, and that's good. I'm glad we're reminded of them, but we don't have to carry the memories in a 22-foot truck.
Exactly. And how often have you heard people say, when I was 22 years old, I could fit all my belongings in my
Yeah, right. Duffel bag. Everything's
Right,
in there.
exactly.
Everything's in one bag, and I'm on there. I know.
Exactly.
We're not 22 anymore.
Exactly. And every day we're getting older. And and I want to remind you that you can call Peabody Home if you're uncertain of where to go, who to call for any of these items. There's no cost to you. I'm happy to help you. As I said, we're not for profit. And I would love you to move to Peabody Home, but Peabody Home might not be the place that you need right now. So I can absolutely help you. And just one other point with the respite care that Ed and I talked about. The state does have funding for respite care that you can apply for. It's usually $1,000 twice a year, depending on the people that are asking for that support. So they only have a certain amount of $1,000, but
Right.
go through your visiting nurse or call me at Peabody Home. 934-3718, and I can steer you in the direction of where to get those funds.
That's great. See, and again, so you're offering yourself as kind of a resource, and maybe the Peabody Home is not for you, but maybe it is, and we can kind of help. And knowledge is power. Right. So if you want to go into this not at the last minute or in a crisis mode, or oh my God, this just happened over the weekend. Now what are we going to do? The planning ahead part, we really can't be stressed enough when you're relaxed and you're not in crisis, and you can really have good conversation about this.
Right, exactly. And a lot of times we have elders that their children live elsewhere.
Oh, that's very true. Like your son and daughter are in the Carolinas,
Right.
but mom and dad are here where they grew up.
Right. And the conversation usually is, do we move closer to the kids who might move themselves?
Right, because you never know what's going to happen in life. Life's funny
I've
like
seen
that.
that happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or do we try and figure out, if we want to stay here, what options we have? And I've had families say the elder is so debilitated that they can't really even make any decisions.
Right.
The kids come up, and I've had people go to the local emergency rooms and say, where is a good place? You know, you see elders and you see lots of elders, and could you steer me in some place? Because they don't even know where to start.
Sure.
There's a couple of websites. New Hampshire Arch, ARCH, is a lovely website with assisted living homes.
Oh, nice.
And it's by county. They don't send you emails continuously
Right.
after you've looked at the site, but that has a lot of information there for you. Leading Age, Maine and New Hampshire, is the not-for-profit elder association that I also belong to, and they're a wealth of information, both federally and state-wise, what's going on with aging. AARP is always a resource, but again, you're welcome to call me, and I think it's based on what stage you're in, what your needs are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Service Link, again,
Service
to
Link is
re-mention
wonderful.
them. Yeah.
It's
again, just as a resource.
Yep. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it's they're plugged into all the services, not just Medicaid or services like Meals on Wheels, but they can listen to what your needs are and give you lists of information of where to go.
Which is good, because again, you're just empowering yourself by learning all this information.
Yeah, I think that whether you are the son or daughter of the person who's in need of help, or whether you're the person yourself who's doing the aging, you haven't done it before. So to reach out to some of these resources is, a perfectly normal thing to do, and can be very beneficial. Two things that I have seen dealt with in the downsizing process was a set of stemware, which was absolutely gorgeous, and it was a service for 12. So the suggestion was take out a set of 2.
Good idea.
And then you've got those to enjoy, you and your spouse.
Oh,
and
nice.
then you can easily sell or give away a set of 10. It's not a big deal. The other thing is a home where practically every wall in the house is covered with family photos. Scan them. Put them into your computer. Put them up as a screensaver. And even in an actual nursing home, you can still have a computer there
right.
that you can set up to
just do the photos.
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's-
one of those floating. They do. It just kind of a new picture comes up every 30 seconds. That's a great
Right.
thing.
That's a great
That's a great
idea.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
So-
a great again, so that you do have the all of the memories that came with living in your original house.
Right.
It's just they're a little different now.
Yep.
But that's it's okay. I think acceptance has a lot to do with this. You have to accept where you're at as you're getting older,
Right.
and not be. And it goes back to the Yankee thing. We are stubborn, aren't we?
Right.
The Yankees. So you've got to be able to kind of let go of a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, you know what? I guess this is the best situation for me. But again, that conversation is going to go a lot better in a non-crisis situation where somebody hasn't, fallen and broken a hip or just something awful has happened at home and we need to get you somewhere else right away.
Right. And you need to go past the response from the elder that you're talking with is just take me behind the barn and shoot me, because that doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
But yet that's the response is I don't want to get old and I don't want to get sick. And
Yeah, I looked at some of these resources. That's not an option, really. That's not. I can't shoot you, Dad.
there you go. There you go.
I looked it up.
The other about the photographs or the stemware is it gives people that are caring for you, if you are in a level of care where you need caregivers,
Right.
to understand what your life was about.
Mm-hmm.
They're meeting you when you're somewhat debilitated and older, and you've had a whole life,
Right.
80, 90 years of life. And so for the caregivers to understand what you did for a living, how many children you had, where you lived, what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best phrase when somebody's moving into is, what do I need to know about you to help you live comfortably here?
Yeah.
What would you like me to know about you? And it makes the person think about their whole life and what they've given to society and community.
But it's setting up, your new home to feel more like home. Because you know what? Because the nurse that comes in and takes care of me during the day knows that I've got 3 kids. It's 2 daughters and 1 son. I mean, they know you.
Right.
And this is your home now, and it's okay.
Exactly. And you want to find a place, if you do need a place, is you want to find a place where the family is as welcome as the individual that's getting the services.
That's very important.
You really, you don't want to lose your family member just because they need care.
Right.
So, and when I speak of that, I mean open visiting hours. Can you come for a meal anytime?
Great.
Can you spend the night? What if they're in the dying process? How does the place handle that? Are you able to, if you wanted to take them home, could you take them home?
Mm-hmm.
It's really
we want to.
open
I'm going to bring Mom home for Christmas. Sure.
Right. And that all can happen. But I think that, like in the hospital or the doctor's office, you sit and you wait to be told. With the internet, that's changing a bit. People go to the doctors now and say, I'd like this, I'd like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
very
I
true.
have
It's
this
very
and
true.
have that.
Yeah.
Elder care, people don't spend the weekend shopping for nursing homes. I just haven't seen that.
I know. But you have to put your time in because, again, goes back to the beginning of the conversation. It's inevitable.
Right.
It's coming.
Exactly.
Aging is going to happen, and if you really want control in how it's going to go down, you do need to put a little time in.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But it puts the control in your hands, and I think. I think I speak for everybody. They'd love to have the control in their hands rather than just, okay, let's wait and see what happens and just roll with it. You'd rather have control going in.
Yep. And I know people that are in their 70s and they wring their hands and say, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to care for me. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. And it causes a lot of stress.
Sure it does.
So to understand what services are out there, we are not Denmark.
Yeah.
We are really not Denmark. We do not care for our elders
right.
the way that other countries do.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's very wishful, it doesn't happen. long-term care insurance, the folks that come to Peabody with long-term care insurance, it's heavenly because the families don't have to worry about the finances and the health care needs.
Correct.
They get to just worry about the health care needs and deal with their emotions with that. Long-term care insurance is very, very expensive. The more people that have it, the better I think the prices will be. And we'll talk about the Medicare, Medicaid, and it'll make a little bit more sense about the importance of the long-term care insurance. But to me and today, right now, to tell you long-term care insurance gives you a lot more options.
That's a great thing to know.
A lot more choices, a lot less worry.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, listen, Meg Miller, our conversation, we're going to have to get together again because there's so much more to talk about. There's a lot to getting older, but it does not have to be difficult if you just get on top of it. Meg Miller, CEO of the Peabody Home. Thank you very much. PeabodyHome.org. You can go check them out online. Or the number again?
Is 934-3718. Feel free to come by for lunch, for a tour, just a conversation, say hello, volunteer. Don't be fearful of coming in.
No, not at all. It's a thing to do. Very exciting. All right, coming up, we've got your